People are trying effectively to remove sugar completely from their diets, and you can't really blame them. Today we have almost 4 decades of data from enormous studies linking sugar to all sorts of issues: rheumatoid arthritis, breaking the gut barrier, activating inflammatory genes which then causes autoimmune diseases. 10% of the world's population has at least one autoimmune disease. I got one myself. It's called the silent pandemic. Sugar is about to get done, bro. I'm telling you, sugar is done. But the question is, what if it's not sugar? What if it's you?
How dare you? Take him down. He's a witch. Cancel him.
Good people of YouTube, allow me to explain.
Okay, but let it go. Let's see if you can sustain it, yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Sugar is everywhere, but there is a difference in between added sugar and naturally occurring sugar. And the problem is right there. They get lumped together. Zero carb diet, no carb diet, keto diet, carnivore diet. All these diets are in place. They're effectively trying to remove sugar completely. But the problem is you can't really completely remove sugar from your diet. Let's say maybe with the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet, if done correctly, it's actually strict. It's zero carbs. The only problem is it's not sustainable on the long term. These diets are in place to shock your body and create a response. Now, through that response, you can benefit from a lot of positive things. So I'm not necessarily saying the diets are bad. They're actually great tools, but they're temporary tools. I use them, by the way. I made videos on how I use fasting, for example, for offsetting my cheat day or increasing my fitness results. Now, you would say fasting is not really a diet, but it does go into the same category because it aims to achieve the same thing, which is reduce completely sugar from your body. I generally eat a low-carb diet, also because I'm aiming for fat loss. And sometimes I would slightly increase that depending on my activity level. And I also eat meat every day. Almost every single dish has meat. But I also eat fruit and vegetables. The reason which I say these low-carb diets are not sustainable on the long term is because your body needs sugar. Now, you probably heard on the internet the benefits, the cognitive benefits about ketones in your brain. Now, a quick recap. So your body is very low in sugar. That gets signaled to your fat cells. Your fat cells now release actually fatty acids into your bloodstream. They go all the way through the liver. The liver processes that, it breaks them down, and through that process, it creates ketones. Now, ketones, they're basically now your alternative fuel source. The problem is, what doesn't really get mentioned, which is a key element, is your brain cannot run just on ketones. Your brain cannot run just on fats. And this doesn't really get mentioned, or it's heavily underestimated. So even if you're in deep ketosis, your brain will still run at least 20 to 30% on sugar because it is its primary fuel source. Your body will never run out of it. Even if you're full on carnivore diet, your body will still keep a reserve of sugar. And eventually when that level hits very, very low, it goes now to a process called gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis. That's what I do to remember these fancy words. Your body is effectively now breaking down proteins, breaking down your muscle, and convert that into pure glucose. No, Daddy, we're not talking about you. No, that is not going to take away your proteins. No, you're safe. It's okay. The fact that your body will do everything to produce sugar, it's already, in my opinion, an indication that you need sugar. So trying to remove it, it doesn't really make sense. So let's break it down in a way that it's very easy to understand, right? Your body uses two fuel systems. It uses fat and it uses sugar. And it's doing that simultaneously, right? And depending on your activity levels, it will prioritize one over the other. But effectively, it uses a little bit of both, right? Never just one instead of the other one. So let's say anything at low intensity, so just walking, light running, cycling, or even sitting at your desk, your body can easily sustain that by burning fat. Right? And you have to remember that this is a slow process and it requires oxygen. Also, it's perfect for fat loss, right? So that's why everyone will say that if you really want to get rid of that fat layer, you need to do your cardio. Now, imagine instead, as you're running, you notice a bear running for you. Now, obviously, your fate is probably sealed at this point, but what you will do instinctively here, you will accelerate. Now you're sprinting. This is where your body now shifts to the next gear. Burning fat is no longer sustainable, so now it needs a quick burst of energy. Imagine a rocket which is being launched. It needs a massive explosion, and only sugar can sustain that. So these are the two fuels that your body uses. Now let's go back to the diet where there is this heavy attempt to remove one of the fuels, which is the sugar. Now, guess what? Your body is still going to produce that sugar. It's going to take it away from your muscles. Now, the carnivore people will probably say, look, that doesn't really happen because we consume enough proteins and amino acids and for our body to take the convert glucose from there. And that can probably work for a sedentary person. But my actual problem with this claim is that the greatest incentive that is being used to promote the carnivore diet is usually getting jacked. You're going to increase your muscle mass and build up muscle and all of that. And although that is, yes, it's possible, it's not possible at an optimal level. And that is already scientifically proven. People that will train under carbs will perform better and can increase more muscle in compared to people that don't, that maybe they're just on a carnivore diet. So imagine you're now in the gym, you're pushing weights, you're lifting weights, you're engaging in high level intensity training, like boxing, for example, like I do. All of a sudden, you're going to find yourself competing with your body for the same resources, for proteins. On one side, you're looking to get those proteins delivered to your muscles for increasing your muscle mass, for maintaining your muscle mass, or just simply for making sure you don't lose any muscle mass, where your body is basically also needing those proteins to fuel you up, to convert that into energy. And you have to remember that when you're lifting heavy, when you're pushing weights and everything that is considered, it's a highly explosive burst of energy, the gluconeogenesis is just like the fat. It's not sufficient. It's only sufficient to keep your brain happy, but in regards to performance, you're just going to hit a wall. That's why athletes never really engaged in this keto diets or carnivore diets if they're training, because they know they're not going to perform at the maximum level. What they might do, they might go on a targeted keto, right? So they will be on 0 carbohydrates during the day, and just before training, half an hour earlier, they will consume carbohydrates. Like that, they make sure that they preserve the muscle and protect that muscle, and they have the necessary energy required for the workout. This is why I'm very skeptical of people that promote carnivore diets and 0 carb diets as an actual lifestyle. I'm skeptical because although in theory you can probably live with that, although you would have to be very careful because there are several different issues that may arise from that. I'm skeptical because sometimes I think they're just like the vegans and the vegetarians that, behind closed doors, they definitely sucking on a lollipop from time to time. At this point, you're thinking, look, man, I'm confused. Like, I can't have the carnivore diet, the keto diet, because it removes sugar completely. It's not sustainable. Sugar is bad, but sugar is good because I need it. So what am I going to do? And the thing is this, sugar is not the problem. It's where it comes from and what does it come with. Does it come from processed foods where it's been added to preserve, to make that food taste better? Otherwise, you would probably vomit, to trigger massive dopamine release, to get you hooked on. Or does it come from whole foods, where very often with no labels attached to it? Does it come on its own? Or does it come packed with water, fiber, vitamin, minerals, antioxidants, and all sorts of nutrients? Sugar is not the problem. It's how you consume it. And sometimes it's also when you consume it, because timing is also a factor, especially if you're an active person like myself. If you're trying to remove sugar completely through these diets, what will happen on the long term is that you are going to cause so much stress to your body and especially to your brain that you are going to break down at one point. And this is what happened to me. I had a massive chocolate addiction, where in reality it was the sugar, because eating all large amounts of chocolate as I used to do, I was getting so much of that empty sugar, right? Sugar that comes with no nutrients, with no minerals, nothing of that, right? And I just went through this. I thought, oh, okay, keto diet is going to resolve that. So I went through that. And at one point I was so stressed and I could just think just about sugar, chocolate. I went to the shop and I bought enormous quantity of chocolate and I've ate it all together. And I remember I went in on a bench in a park and I've literally hid myself and eating on this chocolate because I was actually ashamed of myself. And it makes me vomit just remembering how much amount I've ate. And it's not working, because when you're doing that, you're effectively operating at the ends of the spectrum of the sugar. So imagine if sugar is on a spectrum, you're now operating here where it's too low because you're effectively trying to remove it completely. And now you're breaking down, now you're overeating, having so much sugar now. Now you're operating at this end of the spectrum where you're just pouring everything, all of it into you, right? You need to be in the middle. This is what I did to resolve this. And it's not my own solution. It's actually, it's very well known. It's actually what needs to be done. It's always been there, to be honest. I have one simple non-negotiable rule. If I read on the label the word sugar, it's out. It's no, I'm not going to have it. I don't even care of the amount. I don't care if it's 0.000000001. I don't care. I'm going to say no to that. And you need to learn to say no. And you see there, I've assumed that you are going to read label, right? Most people don't. I didn't do that for many, many years. The advantage of reading labels, not only you're looking for the perpetrator and you can easily identify it and eliminate that food that contains that, but you will start noticing other things that are extremely difficult to pronounce, things that you probably need a a chemistry degree to understand what they are. So you become a lot more aware of what you put inside your body, and you become a lot more unwilling to just throw anything inside there just because it has a nice image or a marketing message. Because if you don't read labels, what's going to happen is you're just going to look at the picture. And you have to understand that these pictures, they're not random. They're scientifically engineered psychological triggers aimed to bypass your logical mind and speak directly to your primitive brain, right? This is why you end up buying this instead of this. The second important thing that I do, especially that my diet is very rich in proteins, I make sure I eat a lot of fruit and a lot of vegetables. The advantage of that, as we've said before, they provide naturally occurring sugar. The most important part of that is that is sugar that doesn't come alone, right? It comes with water, fiber, vitamins, mineral, antioxidants, and all of that helps to manage a gradual release of sugar into your bloodstream instead of a huge spike. Also, it makes it a lot more difficult to consume that in very large quantities. It's a lot easier to drink a can of soda than eating 4 apples back to back. Why would you stay away from this? This is great. And one last thing that I do is timing. If I don't need them, I won't have them. So for example, at dinner, I would generally keep carbohydrates very, very low, or sometimes I would remove them completely. At this point, the day has gone by, and I try to be strategic about it. If after dinner there's no physical activity involved, I'm just not going to have the carbohydrates. I don't need it, right? Because generally speaking, sugar either becomes energy if you use it, or becomes fat if you don't use it. Okay, guys, I'm going to end it here. Thank you very much for watching, like always. And I really hope this video can help you make better decisions in regards to what you eat and how you eat. I hope it has put a light on these diets. Definitely you want to use them. Definitely you want to try them to kind of like boost you up a little bit to create that response. But for long term, the solution is much more easier. You just want to stay in the middle, have a healthy, clean, balanced diet, drink a lot of water, engage in a lot of physical activity, go to the gym, push weights, lift weights, boxing, MMA, whatever keeps your body in motion. Hit that like, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one. Time for gym now.